Beneath the myriad devil abyss, black snow has fallen for 300 years. I have also been here on guard for 300 years. 300 years ago, when the Tian Holy Land sent me here, they gave me only 300 remnant soldiers, a half-collapsed demon-suppressing pass, and a casual decree from the Holy Lord. Yi Qinzhou, hold the mouth of the abyss. Once the Holy Land has finished its reorganization, we will naturally bring you back to the mountain. This wait lasted 300 years. In those 300 years, the demonic tides came 99 times. The walls of the demon-suppressing pass were rebuilt 7 times, and the old brothers by my side died wave after wave. The Holy Land's reinforcements never came. The medicinal pills never came. The spirit stones never came. Even the formation flags and talismans were cut off starting a century ago. But today, someone from the Holy Land has finally arrived. Not to deliver food, not to deliver medicine, and not to take us back to the mountain. They brought a gold-patterned decree, demanding I return to Mount Tianxian to kneel and apologize to the Holy Sun, a man who had never set foot in the abyss, yet called me the old dog of the abyss at a victory banquet. The reason was that I had cursed him once in a communication jade slip. I looked at the decree suspended in midair and suddenly laughed. When I had only 300 remnants, I endured it. When 100,000 demonic corpses pressed against the city, I endured it. When the demon-suppressing army ran out of pills and food, surviving by swallowing demon blood, I endured that too. But now, I have 3 million soldiers of the demon-suppressing army behind me. The heads of 36 demon gods hang outside the pass, and the 9 layers of the myriad devil abyss's earth veins are all within my grasp. And you want me to apologize to a piece of trash soaking in the Holy Land spirit springs? I reached out and grabbed the gold-patterned decree. Demonic lightning flashed in my palm. The decree, written by the Holy Lord's own hand, burned to ash before everyone's eyes. I looked up at the pale-faced messengers of the Holy Land and said indifferently, "Go back and tell Qin Wuji, the seat of the Tianxian Holy Lord. It's time for someone else to sit in it." The wind at the demon-suppressing pass is like a knife. That is not a metaphor. The wind blowing out from the myriad devil abyss carries shattered demonic souls and black sand that corrodes spiritual energy. If an ordinary foundation establishment cultivator stood atop the city walls, their protective light would be pierced in less than 15 minutes, and even their bones would be stained black. I stood atop the highest tower of the city walls, my ebony cloak snapping fiercely in the wind. Beyond the walls lay a black wasteland that stretched as far as the eye could see. At the wasteland's end, the abyss of 10,000 demons gaped like an open eye in the earth, bottomless, with black mist churning within. Buried there were untold numbers of ancient demons, evil gods, demon sovereigns, and fallen immortals. And buried there as well were my youth, my patience, and my loyalty from these past 300 years. "My lord," the sound of grinding armor came from behind me. Lu Xiao stepped onto the tower and dropped to one knee. He was the grand commander of my demon-suppressing army. When he first followed me here 300 years ago, he was merely a 16-year-old outer disciple. Now, 7 scars from demonic claws marked his face, and one of his eyes had been replaced by an eerie blue demon crystal orb. The people from the Holy Land have arrived. I did not look back. How many? 12, Lu Xiao sneered. 1 law enforcement elder, 2 inner sect protectors, and 9 of the Holy Sun's personal guards. Quite a grand display. They arrived in a 9 phoenix spirit carriage, as if they feared the wind here might soil their boots. I looked down at a crack in the city wall. It had been smashed open 70 years ago during the 82nd demonic tide by a black heaven demon ape. Back then, it had shattered the city gate with a single punch. 30,000 soldiers of the demon-suppressing army threw their lives into the breach to hold the line. In the end, I nailed the beast to the mouth of the abyss with my own hands. After that battle, I sent 7 blood-written talismans to the Holy Land, requesting a replenishment of the array stones to fortify the pass. The Holy Land replied with only 2 words, "Source them yourselves." The corner of my mouth quirked. Let them up. The time it takes for half an incense stick to burn past before the 12 envoys from the Holy Land entered the demon-suppressing tower. Their white and gold robes were blindingly clean, their feet treading upon dust-shunning spirit light. They even held their breath, as if this city, built from bone and blackened blood, were some sort of foul, defiled place. The law enforcement elder leading them was surnamed Meng, called Meng Qingyang. I remembered him. 300 years ago, when I was exiled to the abyss of 10,000 demons, he was nothing more than a groveling deacon trailing behind Qin Wuji. Now, it seemed, he had become an elder, his back had straightened, and his gaze had grown loftier. Yi Qinzhou. He stood in the center of the tower, his voice cold. In the presence of the Holy Lord's decree, why do you not kneel? The interior of the building fell silent instantly. Lu Zhao's hand rested on the hilt of his saber. The generals of the demon-suppressing army stood behind me, their old armor scarred and battered, their eyes resembling demonic wolves that had starved for 1,000 years at the bottom of the abyss. I sat in the seat of honor, looking at Meng Qingyang. We haven't met for 300 years, and the first words out of your mouth are to command me to kneel. Meng Qingyang frowned, his tone flat. Yi Qinzhou, though you have performed great service in guarding the 10,000 demon abyss, you are still a disciple of the Holy Land. The Holy Lord's decree is before you. Do you dare show disrespect? I let out a mocking laugh. A disciple of the Holy Land? I raised my hand and pointed outside the tower. Every brick in these walls is soaked in the blood of the demon-suppressing army. In 300 years, through 99 demonic tides, has the status of Holy Land disciple ever blocked a single blade for us? Has it ever sent us a single pill? Has it ever buried a single brother? Meng Qingyang's expression darkened. Do not use your merits as an excuse for arrogance. The Holy Land governs the Eastern Wasteland and has its own grand strategy. Your stationing here is precisely the Holy Land's trust in you. Trust. Lu Xiao sneered, his voice raspy. Elder Meng, 300 years ago, you spoke of trust and gave us 300 men. Later, when we held off the first demonic tide, you said the Holy Land was in difficulty and asked us to hold on a bit longer. And then, as the demon-suppressing pass grew from 300 to 300,000 through constant battle, you said Commander Ye's merits were too great to be rewarded, lest the border army grow prideful. He took a step forward. Now, when we have personally beaten the 10,000 demon abyss back so far that the 9th floor doesn't dare show its head, you suddenly remember that we are disciples of the Holy Land? Presumptuous. A personal guard of the Holy Sun behind Meng Qingyang barked. He was only in the nascent soul realm, yet his face was filled with arrogance, and a medallion from the Holy Sun's estate hung at his waist. Mere abyss-guarding barbarians, and you dare to talk back to an elder? The Holy Sun was indeed correct. You've stayed in this god-forsaken place for so long that you no longer know your place. The temperature inside the tower plummeted. The generals of the demon-suppressing army raised their eyes in unison. The guard turned pale under their collective gaze, yet he still forced himself to bluster. What are you looking at? The Holy Sun possesses the innate Tao bone and is the future Holy Lord. For you demon-tainted military slaves, to serve the Holy Sun is your good fortune. I finally stood up. My armor plates clattered softly. Black snow drifted over the threshold from outside, only to be pulverized into dust by the aura surging beneath my feet. What did you just say? The guard's Adam's apple bobbed. I said you are. Asterisk crack. Asterisk no one saw how I moved. The guard was sent flying, shattering 3 profound iron pillars. Half of his face caved in, and teeth mixed with blood sprayed across the floor. Meng Qingyang's expression changed violently. Yi Qinzhou, you dare harm the Holy Sun's personal guard. I looked at him. The only reason he is still alive is because I am in a decent mood today. Meng Qingyang's chest heaved, his gaze darkening. A moment later, he produced a scroll of gold-patterned divine decree. As the decree unfurled, a holy light illuminated the entire demon-suppressing tower. Outside the tower, countless soldiers of the demon-suppressing army halted their movements and looked toward us. Meng Qingyang held the decree high, his voice infused with spiritual power as it resonated through the entirety of the demon-suppressing pass. A decree from the Holy Lord. Yi Qinzhou, commander of the Abyss-suppressing army. They have earned minor merit in guarding the myriad demon abyss. In recent years, you have grown arrogant, repeatedly defying holy orders and insulting the Holy Sun via transmission Jade with crude language. Your crimes are inexcusable, in consideration of your past service and the Holy Lord's benevolence. Yi Qinzhou is hereby ordered to immediately relinquish the demon-suppressing army seal, return to Heaven Profound Mountain, and enter the Holy Sun's manor to offer a formal apology to Holy Sun Qinzhou while kneeling in penance for 3 days. The entirety of the demon-suppressing army shall be temporarily commanded by Holy Sun Qinzhou and integrated into the Holy Land's Tao-protecting army. By his imperial will, the wind stopped. At least, in that moment, it felt like the wind had stopped. The entire demon-suppressing pass fell into a deathly silence. Then, there was the sound of low laughter. At first, it was only 1 or 2 voices. But soon, from atop the city walls to the depths of the barracks, laughter erupted everywhere. It was not a joyful laughter. It sounded like a blade scraping against bone. Meng Qingyang's face grew increasingly ugly. Yi Qinzhou, will you still not accept the decree? I reached out my hand. Meng Qingyang thought I was going to accept it, a flicker of smugness crossing his eyes. In the next instant, my fingers clamped shut, seizing the divine decree directly. The holy light flared up, attempting to resist. Within my palm, a wisp of black gold lightning emerged. It was the Tao-annihilating demonic lightning, birthed within the sea of thunder burials on the 7th level of the myriad demon abyss, capable of reducing even a soul transformation realm demon venerable to ash. The decree burst into flames. The golden holy light and black demonic lightning intertwined for a moment, struggling like a dying insect before turning into ash, inch by inch. Meng Qingyang's pupils constricted. You dare destroy the Holy Lord's decree. I destroyed it, I said, dusting the ash from my fingers. And so what? Meng Qingyang took a step back and barked. Yi Qinzhou, you are betraying the sacred ground. This is treachery against your masters and ancestors. You are inviting eternal damnation. Ignoring him, I walked out of the demon-suppressing tower. Upon the battlements, the dense ranks of the demon-suppressing army watched me. Some were missing limbs, some were blind, some were covered in spreading demonic runes, and some were so young they still looked like boys. Yet every one of them stood ramrod straight. 300 years. I once believed that as long as we held the myriad demon abyss, the sacred ground would one day remember us. Later, I understood. They hadn't forgotten. They simply believed we were meant to die here. I looked out at the endless black snow and spoke slowly. Pass the order. Lu Xiao dropped heavily to one knee. Your general awaits. As of this day, the demon-suppressing army shall no longer follow the commands of the heavenly profound sacred ground. My voice rang out. The black snow fell even more violently. I unsheathed the long saber at my hip, the blade that had helped me slay 36 demon gods, and pointed its edge toward the southeast in the direction of the heavenly profound mountain. 3 days to mobilize. 7 days to crush the mountain. The debt Qin Wuji owes us. It is time to pay. After a brief, deathly silence, Demon Suppression Pass erupted. Demon Suppression Army, hear my command. Follow the king. Collect the debt. Collect the debt. Collect the debt. The roar of 3 million soldiers sent the black mist of the abyss of 10,000 demons billowing backward. Deep within the 9 layers of the demon caves, countless ancient demons retreated into their dens in terror. Meng Qingyang's legs went weak, and he nearly collapsed to his knees. I turned to look at him. You may leave. He felt as if he had been granted a divine reprieve, but just as he was about to speak, I continued. Bring a message to Qin Wuji and Qin Zhaoye. I paused. Before I arrive, tell them to wash their necks clean. The heavenly, profound, holy land sat at the head of the eastern desolation's spiritual veins. Its mountains rose in 9 tiers, overlooking 10,000 miles of cloud seas, where the climate remained like eternal spring. Upon the holy sun peak, spiritual springs bubbled, and 10,000-year jade lotuses were in full bloom. Qin Zhaoye lay in a pool of spiritual spring water. 2 female disciples massaged his shoulders, while another maid peeled a spirit fruit and held it to his lips. He was exceptionally handsome. With features like a painting and skin like jade, he bore a natural Tao mark between his brows. Every gesture he made carried a noble air, as if he were the darling of heaven and earth. And he was indeed favored. Born with a Tao bone, he reached foundation establishment at 9, the golden core stage at 16, and the nascent soul stage at 23. Holy Lord Qin Wuji had personally announced that he would be the next successor. From that day forward, no one on Mount Heavenly Profound dared to defy him, except for Yi Qinzhou. At the thought of that name, the smile on Qin Zhaoye's face faded. That old thing should be on his way back to the mountain by now, shouldn't he? A maidservant nearby whispered, answering the saint. Elder Meng personally went to demon-suppressing pass, carrying the Holy Lord's decree. No matter how arrogant Yi Qinzhou is, he wouldn't dare defy it. Qin Zhaoye snorted coldly. He'd better know what's good for him. He's just an old soldier guarding the abyss. The sacred land gave him the empty title of demon-suppressing king, and he actually thinks he's someone of consequence. A female disciple said softly, "Why should the saint be angry at such a bore? Those people from the demon-suppressing army spend their years slaughtering monsters and are steeped in demonic energy. How could they possibly understand the etiquette of the sacred land?" Qin Zhaoye narrowed his eyes. It's precisely because he doesn't understand etiquette that he needs to be taught a proper lesson. When he returns, I want him to kneel before the gates of the saint's mansion for 3 full days. Let the entire sacred land see that this so-called demon-suppressing king is nothing more than an old dog at Qin Zhaoye's feet. The others around him hurriedly chimed in with sycophantic smiles. Just then, the rapid tolling of a bell suddenly echoed through the 9-fold mountains. Asterisk dong, dong, dong. Asterisk Qin Zhaoye frowned. The heaven warning bell? Who dares to ring it? The next moment, a guard from the saint's mansion came rushing in on all 4s, his face deathly pale. "Saint, something is wrong." Qin Zhaoye's expression darkened. "What are you panicking for? Elder Meng has returned. If he's back, he's back. What's so wrong about that?" The guard swallowed hard. Only half of him came back. Qin Zhaoye bolted upright. Inside the hall of the Holy Lord, Qin Wuji sat high on his throne, his face so dark it looked as though it could drip ink. Below the dais, a mangled body lay before the jade steps. It was Meng Qingyang. His legs had been severed, his meridians were shattered, and his nascent soul was sealed within his forehead, barely hanging onto his last breath. But he was still alive, because Yi Qinzhou wanted him to return alive to deliver a message. The elders and peak masters were gathered in the hall, every one of them looking grim. In a raspy, halting voice, Meng Qingyang finished recounting everything that had happened at demon-suppressing pass. The decree had been destroyed. The Holy Sun's personal guards have been crippled. The demon-suppressing army has broken away from the Holy Land. Yi Qinzhou has vowed to reorganize his army in 3 days and breach the mountain in 7. Those final words plunged the entire hall of the Holy Sovereign into a deathly silence. Qin Wuji gripped his armrests, his knuckles turning white. Did Yi Qinzhou really say that? Meng Qingyang spoke with a trembling voice. Holy Sovereign, he is no longer the Yi Qinzhou of old. He carries the aura of a demon god, and the demon-suppressing army is also strange. They don't seem like humans, they seem like a demonic legion crawling out of the abyss of 10,000 demons. Absurd, the great elder shouted sternly. Yi Qinzhou is merely at the late stage of god transformation. Even if he has made breakthroughs over the years, he is at most at the half-step void refinement stage. The Holy Sovereign has been in the void refinement stage for 100 years, and the Holy Land possesses the ninefold mountain protection array. What could he possibly use to breach the mountain? But the demon-suppressing army has 3 million soldiers, someone whispered. A mere military formation. No matter how many there are, they are still just mortal cultivators, the Great Elder sneered. The Holy Land has 10,000 years of heritage. Do we truly fear a group of rogue cultivators from the border? Qin Zhaoye arrived as well. Looking at Meng Qingyang's wretched state, his face shifted between shades of pale and ashen. Amidst his anger, there was also an indescribable chill. He had never seen anyone dare to treat an envoy of the Holy Land this way. Even less had he seen anyone dare to claim they would breach the mountain in 7 days. Father, he stepped forward, gritting his teeth. Yi Qinzhou's actions are an act of rebellion. We must announce this to the Eastern Desolation and command all sects to join a crusade against him. I want him to kneel at the foot of Holy Sun Peak and watch with his own eyes as the demon-suppressing army is slaughtered to the last man. Qin Wuji glanced at him. His son was his pride. He was also the hope of the heavenly profound Holy Land for the next 1,000 years. Yet, for some reason, Qin Wuji did not feel at ease at this moment. He had seen the Yi Qinzhou of 300 years ago. Back then, Yi Qinzhou was young, silent, stubborn, and exceptionally talented. If not for the events of that year, if Yi Qinzhou had not stood in the way of certain people, the position of Holy Sun might not have fallen to Qin Zhaoye today. Qin Wuji slowly closed his eyes. When he opened them again, they were filled only with coldness. Pass down my decree. Yi Qinzhou has colluded with the demon race and rebelled against the Holy Land. As of today, recall all disciples and activate the ninefold mountain protection array. Also, request reinforcements from the Taiqing Palace, the Profound Sword Sect, and the Burning Heaven Valley. The crowd in the main hall responded in unison. A cold sneer resurfaced on Qin Zhaoye's lips. Asterisk Yi Qinzhou. Asterisk. Do you think that because you guarded the demon abyss for 300 years, you can now contend with the Holy Land? Asterisk a mutt is a mutt. Asterisk. Asterisk even if it bites through its chain, it ultimately cannot escape the fate of being beaten to death. Asterisk. Demon Suppression Pass, Central Command Tent. Maps covered the entire black iron long table. From the 10,000 demon abyss to the heavenly profound mountain, there lay 70,000 miles of mountains and rivers, 12 great cities, 3 spirit rivers, and 4 perilous passes. For an ordinary army, it would take at least half a year to traverse. But the Demon Suppression Army was no ordinary army. They had long since grown accustomed to long-distance raids through demon tides, marching through spirit-severed lands, and fighting the fiercest battles with the meagerest supplies. More importantly, I had refined the 9 layers of the 10,000 demon abysses ley lines into the abyss-suppressing grand formation. As long as I willed it, the abyss's ley lines could open spatial rifts, delivering the army beside any ley line in the Eastern Desolation that had been eroded by demonic qi. And for these past 300 years, to facilitate the extraction of resources from various regions, the heavenly profound Holy Land had never truly cleansed those secretly spreading demonic veins. They believed the demonic veins were a curse. They did not know that today, those demonic veins would become the path for the Demon Suppression Army to march south. Zhou Xuanzi stood by the map. He was my strategist. He had once been a disciple of the heavenly profound Holy Land Scripture Library. But after exposing the Holy Land's embezzlement of the Demon Suppression Army supplies, his spiritual root was destroyed, and he was cast into the 10,000 demon abyss to fend for himself. Later, I pulled him back from a pile of corpses. He no longer possessed a spiritual root, yet he had cultivated formations, calculations, and the human heart into a different kind of Tao. My king, the heavenly profound Holy Land, will surely activate the ninefold mountain protection grand array. Zhou Xuanzi's fingertip landed on the map. A frontal assault can break it, but the losses would be heavy. If we wish to crush the Holy Land with the greatest speed, we must first cut off their external aid. Lu Xiao crossed his arms and sneered. Those three fence-sitters from the Taiching Palace, the Profound Sword Sect, and the Burning Heaven Valley, they are not fence-sitters. They are businessmen, Zhou Xuanzi said calmly. If the Holy Land can afford the price, they will come. We only need to let them know that the cost of coming to their aid is far greater than any benefit the Holy Land could promise. I looked at him. How do we do it? First, we break the Holy Land's arm. Zhou Xuanzi pointed to Shiling City, north of Tian Mountain. Shiling City is the Holy Land's external storehouse, stockpiling 30% of their spirit stones, medicinal pills, and formation materials. The defender is Chu Huayan, Qin Wuji's brother-in-law, a greedy coward whose subordinates are mostly pampered scions of noble families with no combat experience. He pointed to another location. Qinghe Crossing is the mandatory path for reinforcements from the three sects to reach Tianxian Mountain. If we take Shiling City and then use a portion of our forces to blockade the crossing, the three sects will have to weigh whether they'll be intercepted and slaughtered halfway there. Lu Xiao's eyes lit up. I'll go to Shiling City. No, I said, I will go to Shiling City personally. A hush fell over the generals in the tent. I looked at the red dot on the map representing the external storehouse. This first battle must show the Eastern Barons clearly. The demon-suppressing army hasn't come back to beg for scraps. We've come back to collect a debt. 3 days later, above the abyss of 10,000 demons, the abyss-suppressing Grand Array was activated. 9 black gold ley lines rose from the bottom of the abyss like giant dragons, connecting heaven and earth. 3 million soldiers of the demon-suppressing army stood in formation, silent and motionless. There were no cheers, no shouting, only the grinding of armor and the low growls of demonic beasts. Mounted on a black-scale dragon horse, I looked back at the demon-suppressing pass. This city had guarded me for 300 years. It also imprisoned me for 300 years. My king, Lu Xiao asked, how many will stay behind? 100,000. Is that enough? I glanced toward the abyss of 10,000 demons. Deep within the abyss, 36 heads of demon gods opened their hollow sockets, floating in the black mist like guard dogs. It is enough. Nowadays, the myriad demon abyss fears my departure even more than the Tianxian Holy Land does. I raised my blade. March! The grand formation roared. A black torrent vanished between the heavens and the earth. Mornings in Shiling City had always been bustling. This was the outer treasury of the Tianxian Holy Land and one of the largest cultivation markets in the northern region of the Eastern Wasteland. Restaurants sold Cloud Dew wine at 300 spirit stones a pot. Auction houses displayed rare treasures from across the provinces year-round, and the cultivators walking the streets wore bright, elegant robes, their talk filled with sect secrets. No one cared about the myriad demon abyss. It was a darkness in the far north, a place the demon-suppressing army was supposed to guard. Until this day, when the sky suddenly turned dark. The guard on the city walls was the first to notice the anomaly. He looked up and saw a black line appear in the northern sky. That line expanded rapidly, like ink poured into a sea of clouds. Immediately after, the earth began to tremble. It was an earthquake. It was the sound of tens of thousands of iron hooves and war boots treading upon the ley lines in unison. Turning pale, the guard gripped the battlements and looked out. On the distant plains, ranks of black-armored soldiers stepped out from space rifts. 1 rank, 10 ranks, 100 ranks. It was endless. Black war banners unfurled in the wind. The banners did not bear the mountain patterns of the Tianxian Holy Land, but only 2 blood-red characters, demon suppressing. Enemy attack. When the alarm bells rang, Chu Huayan was in the backyard of the outer treasury, listening to music. The 2 beauties in his arms were pale with fright, but he slammed his hand down on the table. Why the panic? This is Shiling City, the outer treasury of the Tianxian Holy Land. Who would dare invade? A personal guard rushed in, his voice cracking. General, it's the demon-suppressing army. Yi Chenzhou has come in person. The wine cup in Chu Huayan's hand fell to the ground. Isn't he supposed to be in the abyss of 10,000 demons? No one answered. Outside the city, a lone rider emerged from the ranks of the demon-suppressing army. Black armor, a black blade, and a cloak like the night. I stopped 300 yards outside Shiling City and looked up at the gate tower. The cultivators atop the walls were in a state of chaos, and the light barrier of the protective array rose in a hurry. I did not immediately order the assault. Zhou Xuanzi spurred his horse forward and unfurled scroll. His voice, amplified by an array, echoed throughout the city. By order of the demon-suppressing king, Shiling City serves as the external treasury of the heavenly profound Holy Land. For 300 years, it has embezzled 17 million spirit stones, 9 million bottles of medicinal pills, and 360,000 cartloads of formation materials from the demon-suppressing army. The demon-suppressing army arrives today only to collect what is owed. We will not harm the common people. Open the gates, surrender the treasury. Those who yield shall be spared. An uproar broke out within the city. Many rogue cultivators and merchants looked at one another in shock. They had only heard that the demon-suppressing army had rebelled, but they had never heard that the heavenly profound Holy Land had embezzled so much. Atop the city wall, Chu Huayan finally appeared, his armor donned haphazardly. His face was pale, yet he forced himself to shout at the top of his lungs, "Yi Chenzhou, you have defected from the Holy Land. You deserve 1,000 deaths. Shiling City is protected by a grand array. If you dare attack, the Holy Lord will surely grind your bones to dust." I raised my hand. Behind me, the demon-suppressing army came to a simultaneous halt. I looked at Chu Huayan. "I give you 10 breaths." Chu Huayan, what? "In 10 breaths, I will break the array." A burst of mocking laughter, forced and nervous, erupted from the city walls. Shiling City's protective array had been passed down for 1,000 years. It was sturdy enough to withstand a full day's assault from a void refinement expert. Breaking the array in 10 breaths? Has he gone mad? Chu Huayan was just about to open his mouth to mock me. Behind me, 36 massive phantoms of demon gods slowly emerged. They had no complete bodies, only heads. Each head had once been an overlord of a layer in the myriad demon abyss. Now, black gold chains pierced through their brows, making them part of the abyss-suppressing grand array. The laughter throughout the city came to an abrupt halt. I flicked my finger. 36 demon god breaths blasted out simultaneously. With the first breath, the city-protecting light barrier trembled violently. With the second breath, vast sections of the array pattern shattered. With the third breath, the array masters inside the city coughed up blood and collapsed. With the fourth breath, Chu Huayan screamed, "Reinforce the array core. Quickly, reinforce the array core." With the fifth breath, cracks appeared on the outer city walls. With the sixth breath, the spiritual towers within the city snapped. With the seventh breath, the city-protecting grand array let out a strained wail. With the eighth breath, all the array patterns extinguished at once. With the ninth breath, the light barrier shattered into a sky full of falling fire. By the 10th breath, my blade had already landed on the city gate. The 1,000-foot gates of profound iron collapsed inward. The demon-suppressing army entered the city. Chu Huayan knelt faster than anyone. He rolled down from the city wall, hair disheveled, holding the outer warehouse key talisman in both hands. "Demon-suppressing king, spare my life. I surrender. I'll give you the whole outer warehouse." It was the Holy Lord and the Council of Elders who ordered me to withhold the supplies. It has nothing to do with me. I sat on my horse, looking down at him. "When you withheld the demon-suppressing army supplies, did you also say it had nothing to do with you?" Chu Huayan trembled all over. I was only following orders." A flash of blade light. His head flew off, the expression of begging for mercy still frozen on his face. I sheathed my blade, opened the treasury. The moment the outer treasury of Shiling City was opened, Lu Xiao smashed the stone lion beside the gates with a single punch. Inside, spirit stones were piled like mountains, medicinal pills stretched out like seas, and array materials filled cart after cart. Many of the crates still bore seals that read, "Exclusive supply for the demon-suppressing pass." The seals had already yellowed with age. Some were from 200 years ago. Some were from 150 years ago. Others had been applied just 3 months ago. Lu Xiao's eyes turned red instantly. "My king!" His voice was hoarse. If the Black Fang Battalion had these pills back then, at least 8,000 more men would have survived. No one spoke. The generals of the demon-suppressing army stood before the treasury doors, as silent as a row of stone statues. Looking at the mountain of resources, I felt no joy, only a piercing cold. It wasn't that they didn't have the resources. It was that they never intended to give them. "Issue the command," I said slowly. 70% of the spirit stones and pills will replenish the demon-suppressing army. The remaining 30% is to be distributed among the rogue cultivators and the poor of Shiling City. Zhou Xuanzi looked at me. I continued, "Make 3,000 copies of every ledger and spread them throughout the eastern wastelands. I want the world to know exactly why the demon-suppressing army has drawn its blades." News of Shiling City's fall reached Tian Mountain within half a day. Inside the hall of the Saint Lord, Qin Wuji lost his composure in public for the first time. The array was broken in 10 breaths. He stared at the messenger disciple kneeling in the hall. "You're telling me that Yi Chunzhou broke the great array of Shiling City in only 10 breaths. The disciple kowtowed frantically. This disciple dares not speak a single word of falsehood. The demon-suppressing army has already taken over Shiling City. Elder Chu Huayan has been slain, and the outer treasury. The outer treasury has also been breached." Qin Zhaoya's face turned deathly pale. The jade slip in the Grand Elder's hand slipped and fell to the floor. Everyone in the hall finally realized one thing. Yi Chunzhou wasn't here just to cause a disturbance. He was truly capable of fighting his way to the foot of Heavenly Profound Mountain. Even worse, the ledgers from the Shiling City outer treasury had already been circulated. In just a single day, rumors spread like wildfire across the eastern wastelands. So, it turns out the demon-suppressing army hasn't received supplies for 300 years because the Holy Land withheld them. I heard the treasury still held demon-suppressing pills from 200 years ago, all of which were taken by the Holy Land to trade for beauties and spiritual wine. No wonder Yi Chunzhou rebelled. If it were me, I'd rebel too. Shu, lower your voice. The Holy Land's people are still around. The Holy Land's long-standing prestige remained, but cracks had appeared. Reinforcements from the Taiching Palace, the Mystic Sword sect, and the Burning Heaven Valley suddenly slowed their pace. Especially after a unit of the demon-suppressing army appeared at Qinghe Ferry and hung 36 heads of demon gods at the crossing. The envoys of the 3 sects simultaneously delivered letters. The wording was very polite. The meaning was very clear. They had encountered issues on the road. Reinforcements would be delayed. After reading the letters, Qin Wuji crushed the jade table with his bare hand. "A bunch of cowards." No one dared to respond. Qin Zhaoya suddenly spoke up. "Father, perhaps we can stabilize Yi Chunzhou first." Everyone in the hall turned to look at him. Qin Zhaoya's expression stiffened, but he quickly forced himself to remain calm. "What I mean is, Yi Chunzhou is coming under the banner of debt collection. He might not actually dare to storm the mountain. Why not send someone to offer him great benefits? We can replenish the demon-suppressing army's resources and title him the Grand Elder of the Abyss. As for the matter of an official apology, we can temporarily set it aside." The Grand Elder frowned. "Holy Son, if we back down now, where will the Holy Land's authority be?" Qin Zhaoya cursed him inwardly. Majesty. Shiling City was gone. What majesty was there left to speak of? But he could not show weakness. He could only say coldly, "This is a stalling tactic. Once the reinforcements from the 3 sects arrive, we will crush him in one fell swoop." Qin Wuji looked at his son, his gaze deepening. He saw Qin Zhaoya's fear. It displeased him. However, at the moment, there seemed to be no better choice. Who should be sent? No one in the hall spoke. Only half of Meng Qingyang had returned, and Chu Huayan had lost his head. Who would dare go to see Yi Qinzhou? After a moment, Qin Wuji said coldly, "Send Shun Fuyao." Everyone was stunned. Shun Fuyao, the saintess of heavenly profound. She was also the only person who had pleaded for Yi Qinzhou 300 years ago. Qin Zhaoya's expression shifted slightly. Father, she and Yi Qinzhou share a past affection. I fear. It is precisely because of this that she must go, Qin Wuji interrupted. If Yi Qinzhou still cherishes their old feelings, there will be room for negotiation. If he does not, his gaze turned ruthless. Then let the world see that he won't even spare the saintess. We shall see if he is still a hero of the human race. It was dusk when Shun Fuyao arrived at Shiling City. Dressed in white, she entered the city alone. There were no rivers of blood, as she had imagined. The streets had been cleaned, and everything was in perfect order. The demon-suppressing army had not looted or killed, nor had they oppressed the people. On the contrary, rogue cultivators in the city were lining up to receive medicinal pills and spirit stones. Many impoverished commoners held bags of grain in their hands, their expressions dazed, as if they were in a dream. Shun Fuyao watched the scene, remaining silent for a long time. She had expected to see a city trampled by rebels, but it was actually more peaceful here than when it had been under the Holy Land's administration. Saintess, this way. The soldier from the demon-suppressing army leading the way brought her to the outer treasury hall. I was reviewing the ledgers. Hearing footsteps, I did not look up. You've come. Shun Fuyao stood at the entrance of the hall. Having not met for 300 years, she looked just as she always had, clad in snow-white robes. Her features were cold and aloof, like the eternal frost atop the peaks of Mount Tian. However, there was a touch of weariness in her eyes. Qinzhou, she spoke softly. The way she addressed me caused the atmosphere in the hall to shift slightly. Lu Xiao let out a cold snort and turned to leave. Zhou Xuanci also tactfully closed his ledger and retreated outside. In the great hall, only she and I remained. I finally looked up. Is the saintess here to persuade me to surrender, or to condemn me for my crimes? Shun Fuyao remained silent for a moment. I'm here to ask if you can stop. I smiled thinly, asking on behalf of Qin Wuji, on behalf of the innocent disciples on Mount Tianxian. I looked at her, and the soldiers of the demon-suppressing army who died in the abyss of 10,000 demons. Were they not innocent? Shun Fuyao's face turned pale. I stood up and walked over to her. 300 years ago, when I was banished to the abyss of 10,000 demons, you pleaded for mercy on my behalf. I remember that. Later, when the demon-suppressing army supplies were cut off, you sent 3 shipments of medicinal pills. I remember that as well. So that is why you are still able to stand here today. Shun Fuyao's eyelashes trembled slightly. I was confined afterward. I know. I didn't know they had withheld so much. I know that too. She looked up at me, a flicker of emotion finally surfacing in her eyes. Then you should understand that not everyone has wronged the demon-suppressing army. I nodded. That is why I did not slaughter the city. And what about Sky Profound Mountain? Qin Wuji abdicates. Qin Zhuye binds himself, and the Council of Elders hands over 300 years of ledgers and the individuals involved. The demon-suppressing army will take over the Holy Land, but we will not kill indiscriminately. Shun Fuyao gave a bitter smile. They will never agree to that. Then I will fight them until they do. She looked at me. You've changed a lot. The myriad demon abyss changes everyone. Do you hate the Holy Land? I remained silent for a moment. It is not the Holy Land I hate. I looked toward the darkening sky outside the hall. I hate those sitting in high places who burn the lives of others like firewood. And when the burning is done, they complain that the ashes are filthy. Shun Fuyao did not try to persuade me further. She pulled a jade slip from her sleeve. This is an old map of sky, profound mountains, ninefold guardian array. This is all I could obtain. I looked at her. You know what it means to give this to me? I know. Why? Shun Fuyao whispered. Because 300 years ago, I failed to keep you here. This time, at the very least, I don't want to choose the wrong side again. She set down the jade slip and turned to leave. When she reached the door, she paused for a moment. Qinzhou, if possible, on the day of the assault, please kill fewer of the young disciples. I do not look back, as long as they don't stand in my way. Tianqian Mountain, Holy Sun's Peak. Qin Zhaoye smashed his 37th jade cup. Shen Fuyao isn't back yet. The attendant knelt on the ground, trembling. Reporting to the Holy Sun, since the saintess entered Shiling City, no news has been sent back. Qin Zhaoye's face turned livid. Slut. She really does have a past with Yi Qinzhou. He paced back and forth in the hall, growing more uneasy the more he thought about it. Yi Qinzhou had breached Shiling City in 10 breaths. The reinforcements from the 3 sects dared not cross the Qinghe Ferry, and the ledgers of the outer treasury had spread throughout the eastern desolation. Even more terrifying was that internal chaos had begun to brew within the Holy Land. Many inner disciples were whispering in private, saying that the demon suppression army had suffered 300 years of injustice, and that Yi Qinzhou was justified in his rebellion. Some elders remained behind closed doors, clearly waiting to see which way the wind blew. Even the personal guards of the Holy Sun's mansion no longer looked at him with the same fervor as before. For the first time, Qin Zhaoye felt that the Holy Sun's peak beneath his feet was no longer stable. Prepare a carriage, he suddenly commanded. The attendant was taken aback. Where's the Holy Sun going? To the ancestral land in the back mountains, to request the ancestor to emerge from seclusion. The attendant suspected nothing and quickly withdrew. Half an hour later, an inconspicuous bronze carriage quietly emerged from the back gate of the Holy Sun's Peak. The carriage was not headed for the ancestral land. Instead, he sped along a secret path leading out of Tianqian Mountain. Qin Zhaoye sat inside the carriage, clutching a storage ring, his expression grim. He was no fool. If Tianqian Mountain held, he would naturally remain the Holy Sun. If it fell, he had to survive first. As long as the Dao Bone remained, and as long as he escaped to the Taiqing Palace or the even more distant Central State, there would always be a day for his comeback. As for his father, the sacred ground, and the disciples of Tianqian, he closed his eyes. He who achieves great things must not be bound by trivialities. The bronze carriage moved through the secret path, nearing the boundary of the mountain gate. Suddenly, the carriage stopped. Qin Zhaoye opened his eyes. What's going on? There was no response from outside. His heart sank as he pulled back the carriage curtain. At the end of the secret path stood a man in green robes. Zhou Xuanzi. He held a flickering lamp, looking at Qin Zhaoye with a smile. Your Highness the Holy Sun, the night is beautiful. Where might you be going? Qin Zhaoye's expression changed drastically. How can you be here? The formation map given by the saintess happened to include this secret path. Zhou Xuanzi sighed. I thought the Holy Sun would at least hold out until the day of the assault, but I didn't expect you to be even faster than I anticipated. Qin Zhaoye suddenly crushed a jade talisman. The divine light of the Dao Bone soared into the sky, transforming into a golden Dharma manifestation. You reckless waste. Your spiritual roots are destroyed, and yet you dare block my path. Zhou Xuanzi did not move. In the darkness behind him, pairs of eerie blue demon crystal eyes lit up. 300 demon-suppressing secret guards stepped forward. Every single one of them was a hardened killer who had returned alive from the 8th level of the abyss of 10,000 demons. Qin Zhaoye's face turned. A moment later, a scream rang out in the secret passage. It was very short. Silence soon returned. Zhou Xuanzi looked at Qin Zhaoye, whose cultivation was sealed and who was pressed wretchedly against the ground, then bent down to pick up the storage ring. Inside, spirit stones, immortal jades, life-saving talismans, and teleportation arrays were packed to the brim. Zhou Xuanzi shook his head. The demon-suppressing army has lacked pills and medicine for 300 years, yet the belongings the Holy Sun packed for a single night's flight are more substantial than a century's worth of military supplies for a border camp. Qin Zhaoye gritted his teeth. If you dare touch me, my father will never let you off. Zhou Xuanzi smiled. Don't worry. Soon, he won't have the leisure to care about you either. On the 7th day, outside Mount Tianxian, black clouds pressed low. 3 million soldiers of the demon-suppressing army stood in formation before the Ninefold Mountains. The great mountain-protecting array of the Tianxian Holy Land was fully active, with 9 layers of holy light enveloping it like a celestial palace forged of gold. Inside the mountain gate, the faces of countless disciples turned pale. They had grown up listening to the tales of the demon-suppressing king. In the stories, Yi Qinzhou was the Holy Land's sharpest blade, the hero who guarded the human race's northern border. But today, this blade was pointed at the Holy Land. Qin Wuji stood atop the summit of the main peak, with the Council of Elders and the various peak masters behind him. His voice resonated throughout the mountain gate. Yi Shanshu, out of respect for your merits in suppressing demons, I will give you one last chance. Withdraw your troops immediately and bind yourself to enter the mountain. I may yet spare the lives of the demon-suppressing army. Outside the mountains, the demon-suppressing army remained silent. I sat atop my draconic steed, looking up at him. 300 years without meeting, Qin Wuji had aged some, but he still possessed the majesty of a holy lord. Back then, it was he who had personally sent me into the abyss of 10,000 demons. He said, Qinzhou, the sacred land needs you. Back then, I believed him. Looking back now, I was truly a fool. I raised my hand and signaled. Lu Xiao dragged a man to the front of the formation. The man's white robes were stained with blood, his hair was disheveled, and the Dao mark on his forehead had grown dim. Qin Zhaoye. An instant uproar broke out within the mountain gate. Qin Wuji's pupils constricted. Zhaoye. Qin Zhaoye lifted his head, saw his father, and immediately wailed, Father, save me. Yi Qinzhou wants to kill me. Save me. Qin Wuji's face turned ashen. Yi Qinzhou, let him go. I said indifferently, he tried to flee last night. The chaos within the gate intensified. Many disciples looked at Qin Zhaoye in disbelief. The saint's son wanted to flee? With a great enemy at the gates, he actually intended to abandon the sacred land and run away? Qin Zhaoye's face turned deathly pale, and he shrieked, No, I didn't. They are slandering me. Zhou Xuanzi activated a recording jade. Images were projected into the air. The bronze carriage, the secret passage, the storage rings, the escape route, and Qin Zhaoye's words. He who achieves great things does not concern himself with trifles. Everything was crystal clear. A deathly silence fell over Tianxian Mountain. Qin Wuji's expression became incredibly unsightly. He could accept his son being vicious, and he could accept his son being arrogant, but he could not accept his son appearing so cowardly in front of everyone, because this would shake everyone's confidence in the Holy Lord's lineage. I looked at Qin Wuji. Is this the future Holy Lord you have chosen? Qin Wuji did not answer. I continued. Qin Wuji, hand over those who have embezzled the demon-suppressing army supplies for the past 300 years. Strip Qin Zhaoye of his position as Holy Son, and renounce your seal as the Holy Lord. Do this, and I will grant Tianxian Mountain a way to live. The Grand Elder roared. Arrogance! With the mountain protection array here, He did not finish his sentence. I raised my blade. The heads of 36 demon gods rose into the sky. At the same time, the array map Shun Fuyao had given me dissolved into points of light in my palm and fell into the abyss-suppressing array. Every weakness of the ninefold mountain protection array was revealed. Qin Wuji's expression finally changed. Shun Fuyao, toward Saintus Peak. A figure in white stood silently at the summit. Shun Fuyao did not speak, nor did she deny it. I struck with my blade. The first layer of the array shattered. The demon-suppressing army took a step forward. The second strike. The second layer cracked. The third strike. The third layer collapsed. Under the breath of the 36 demon gods and the pressure of the abyss-suppressing array, the 9 layers of holy light were extinguished one after another. The disciples of Tian mountain retreated in terror. The council of elders frantically channeled their spiritual power, but it was like trying to block a bursting river with their hands. When the 7th strike fell, the mountain gate of Tian Mountain collapsed with a thunderous roar. With the 8th strike, the jade steps before the Holy Lord's hall split in two. With the 9th strike, I did not strike the array. I slashed toward Qin Wuji. Qin Wuji let out a furious roar as his void refining stage aura erupted, and the Holy Lord's seal transformed into a golden mountain that pressed down. Yi Qinzhou, I am the true Holy Lord of Tianxian. I looked up. The ley lines of the 9 layers of the myriad demon abyss manifested behind me. It was not soul transformation, nor was it void refining. Through 300 years of demon tides, 36 demon gods, and 99 brushes with death, I had long since stepped into the stage of Tao integration. I simply never told the world. I split the Holy Lord seal with a single stroke. With another, I shattered Qin Wuji's protective holy light. With the third, the blade's edge stopped at the center of his brow. Qin Wuji knelt on the shattered jade steps, his face filled with utter disbelief. Tao integration. You actually... I looked down at him. Thanks to you. The bottom of the myriad demon abyss is a fine place for cultivation. The Holy Lord Hall was taken over by the demon-suppressing army. Qin Wuji, Qin Jia, the Grand Elder, and all the implicated elders were escorted to the square in front of the hall. The square was packed with Tianxian disciples. Many had not yet recovered from the shock of the mountain gate being breached. Watching the once supreme Holy Lord kneeling on the ground and the Holy Sun trembling like a dead dog, something within them shattered as well. Zhou Xuanzi ordered crates of ledgers to be brought out. Begin reading. A scribe from the demon-suppressing army unfurled the first scroll. Year 317 of the absolute beginning. The demon-suppressing pass requested 3,000 city-building formation stones. The sacred land issued an official approval, but in reality, the stones were diverted to the Holy Sun's peak to build the 9-turn spiritual spring. Qin Zhaoya shuddered violently. Year 322. The Black Fang Battalion of the demon-suppressing army suffered 7,600 severe casualties and requested life-sustaining pills. The Sacred Land approved 30,000 pills. Only 300 were actually issued, while the rest were transferred into the Council of Elders' private treasury. The Grand Elder's face turned ashen. In the 341st year of the Taichu era, during the Demon Tide on the 6th level of the Myriad Demon Abyss, the Demon Suppression Army requested reinforcements. Holy Lord Qin Wuji suppressed the Blood Talisman, claiming the northern border's troubles were minor and there was no need to alarm the other sects. That same month, the Holy Land held the banquet of 10,000 immortals, spending 8 million spirit stones. A commotion began to stir among the crowd. Confusion and shame appeared on the faces of many young disciples. They had drunk spiritual wine and watched spiritual dances at that very banquet, listening to the elders speak of the Holy Land's prosperity and the peace of the world. But as it turned out, in that same year, over 100,000 soldiers of the Demon Suppression Army had died in the Myriad Demon Abyss. Charge after charge was read aloud, from embezzling supplies to pocketing death benefits, from concealing demon tides to framing disciples who dared to remonstrate, from treating the Demon Suppression Army as disposable pawns to crediting the Holy Sun for their hard-won achievements. The evidence was as solid as a mountain. Qin Wuji kept his eyes closed, remaining silent. Qin Zhaoya, however, completely broke down. It wasn't me. I didn't do any of this, he struggled frantically. Father, you are the one who made me do it. You said the Demon Suppression Army was far away in the northern border and no one would ever know. You said Yi Qinzhou's merits overshadowed yours, and that he had to be suppressed. Qin Wuji's eyes snapped open. Shut up. But Qin Zhaoya was past the point of listening. In the position of Holy Sun. Back then, Yi Chenzhou was clearly more qualified than me. It was because you were afraid he would be uncontrollable that you sent him to the myriad demon abyss. You said as long as he died there, no one would remember him. The square erupted into total chaos. Countless gazes shifted toward Qin Wuji. The truth of 300 years ago was finally torn open. I stood on the steps, my expression calm. So that was it. In truth, I had guessed it long ago. But hearing it with my own ears, a part of my heart still went completely cold. Qin Wuji's face was as dark as a stagnant pool. He suddenly looked up at me. Yi Chenzhou, the victor is king and the loser is the villain. I have nothing left to say. But do not forget, you were also raised by the sky profound holy land. Without the holy land, you would not be who you are today. I looked at him. Without the demon suppression army, there would be no sky profound holy land today. Qin Wuji froze. I turned to face the sky profound disciples on the square. Today is a reckoning, and only the primary culprits will be punished. Anyone who did not participate in withholding supplies from the demon suppression army, framing the loyal, or harming their fellow disciples. Lay down your weapons, and you may remain on the mountain. The sky profound holy land will not be destroyed. But from this day forth, the Holy Land no longer belongs to the Qin family. The disciples looked at one another. Someone was the first to drop their sword, then a second, then a third. The clanging of metal soon merged into a single, continuous sound. The tide had turned. Qin Wuji slowly closed his eyes. Qin Jia lay slumped on the ground, still muttering. I have a natural Dao bone. I am the future Holy Lord. You cannot do this to me. Lu Xiao stepped forward. My king, how shall they be dealt with? I looked at the father and son. Strip Qin Wuji of his cultivation and imprison him in the first level of the myriad demon abyss. He is to guard the entrance for 300 years. Qin Wuji's eyes snapped open, fear appearing in them for the first time. He knew exactly what kind of place the myriad demon abyss was. 300 years. The place he once sent me. Now, it was his turn. As for Qin Jia, I looked at the trembling holy son. Extract his Dao bone, strip his cultivation, and send him to the demon suppression pass. Let him guard the monument for the fallen of the demon suppressing army. Qin Jia let out a shrill, agonizing scream. No, kill me. Yi Chenzhou, kill me. I did not look at him again. Death is too cheap. Some people must stay alive to understand the true meaning of atonement. The heavens had shifted over Mount Tian. The Qin lineage was purged, the Council of Elders reorganized, and the resources of every peak re-registered. The sacred land's outer, inner, and secret treasuries were all thrown open. For the first time, the demon-suppressing army truly saw how many resources this sacred land, which supposedly upheld the righteousness of humanity, had hoarded, resources that should have been sent to the northern frontier. Lu Xiao cursed a blue streak at the sight. Zhou Xuanzi remained calm, merely ordering the accounts to be settled one by one. What is owed to the demon-suppressing army? Compensate in full. What is owed to the families of the fallen? Compensate tenfold. For those whose families cannot be found, erect monuments and induct them into the ancestral halls. Offer sacrifices every year. The incense must never be interrupted. I stood before the hall of the sacred Lord, watching the surging sea of clouds. 300 years ago, I had dreamed of returning here countless times. Back then, I imagined someone would pat me on the shoulder and say, "You've worked hard." Later, that dream grew fainter and fainter. Today, standing here for real, I found there was little satisfaction in my heart. Only emptiness. Shun Fuyao walked to my side. Do you plan to take the seat of the sacred Lord? I did not answer. She continued, right now, everyone feels that this position should be yours. I looked at the white jade throne inside the hall of the sacred Lord. Qin Wuji had sat there for over 300 years. Before him, there were generations of sacred lords. They sat there, claiming to protect all living beings, yet in the end, they couldn't even see the demon-suppressing pass. I will not take the seat. Shun Fuyao was stunned. I said calmly, if the demon-suppressing army merely replaces the person at the top, how is that any different from Qin Wuji? Then what do you want? To abolish the system of the Holy Lord's absolute rule. The look in her eyes changed slightly. I turned to look at Zhou Xuanzi. As if he had known what I was going to say all along, he unfurled a scroll containing a draft for a new system. The Tianxian Holy Land shall be renamed the Tianxian Alliance. 5 offices shall be established: the Demon Suppressing Office, the Law Enforcement Office, the Resource Office, the Instruction Office, and the Civil Affairs Office. The Demon Suppressing Office will oversee the myriad demon abyss and border defenses. The Law Enforcement Office will investigate corruption and crimes. The Resource Office will manage spirit mines and elixir stores. The Instruction Office will be responsible for the disciples' cultivation, and the Civil Affairs Office will handle matters regarding the commoners in affiliated cities and rogue cultivators. Each office shall provide checks and balances for the others. Major decisions shall be jointly determined by the 5 offices and the various peaks. Shun Fuyao stood there dazed. This wasn't just replacing the Holy Lord. This was dismantling the Holy Lord's divine throne. I looked at her. If you are willing, I will entrust the Instruction Office to you. Shun Fuyao remained silent for a long time. And what about you? I am returning to the demon-suppressing pass. She looked up abruptly. You're still going back? The myriad demon abyss still exists. But Qin Wuji has already fallen. Qin Wuji's fall does not mean the abyss has vanished, nor does it mean there will never be another Qin Wuji in the future. I looked toward the distance. So, I want this holy land to remember. If someone is to sit atop the clouds, someone must stand guard in the abyss. But from this day forward, those who guard the abyss shall never again be forgotten. Shun Fuyao remained silent for a long time. Finally, she nodded gently. All right. 1 month later, the myriad demon abyss. Outside the demon-suppressing pass, a forest of steels had appeared. From the 300 remnants who died in the first battle to the nameless soldiers who perished in the 99th demon tide, the names of everyone who could be identified were carved onto the monuments. For those whose names could not be found, a nameless stele was erected. At the end of the forest of steels, Qin Zhaoyan knelt. His Dao bones had been extracted, his cultivation entirely crippled, and his once jade-like face was now so gaunt it was unrecognizable. He had to wipe 1,000 steels every day. If he didn't finish, there would be no food. At first, he cried and cursed, shouting that he was the Holy Son and that I would meet a miserable end. Later, no one paid him any attention. The winds of the demon-suppressing pass would teach him to stay silent. Qin Wuji was sent to the first level of the myriad demon abyss, donned in the oldest armor of the demon-suppressing army, and stationed at the most dangerous sentry post at the mouth of the abyss. He had only kept watch for 3 days before the demonic winds left his face covered in bloody gashes. On the 7th day, he saw the demon tide crawling out of the black mist for the first time. At that moment, he finally understood what the demon-suppressing army had been facing for 300 years. It was a pity he understood too late. I stood before the forest of steels, a jar of cheap wine in my hand. Lu Xiao and Zhou Xuanzi stood behind me. There were also many veterans of the demon-suppressing army. None of them spoke. I poured the wine before the first stele. A name was carved on that monument. Chun Shi. 300 years ago, he was the first centurion to follow me to the myriad demon abyss. During the first demon tide, he was torn in 2 by a demon general while protecting me. Before he died, he even smiled and said, "Senior Brother Yi, when we return to the Holy Land, remember to treat me to some spiritual wine." I had owed him for 300 years. "Old Chun," I whispered, "the debt has been collected." The wind blew through the forest of monuments, sounding as if countless voices were whispering back in response. Lu Zhao's eyes were bloodshot. He tilted his head back and down a large mouthful of wine. "Brothers, did you hear that? We are no longer lonely ghosts that no one remembers." Black snow drifted down. It fell upon the monuments, but it did not feel as cold as it once had. In the distance, the gates of the demon-suppressing pass slowly opened. A group of young disciples from the Tian Alliance, carrying medicinal pills, array flags, and spirit stones on their backs, entered the pass. Their faces still held nervousness and awe, but there was no longer any disdain. The girl leading them was no more than 16 or 17. She walked up to me and bowed deeply. Lin Qinghe, a disciple of the Heritage Hall, has been ordered to deliver the first shipment of supplies. I request the demon-suppressing king to inspect and accept them. Her voice trembled, but it was clear and bright. Lu Xiao took the inventory list, glanced at it, and froze. Your Majesty, it's 30% more than what was reported. The girl said hurriedly. The saintess said there might be losses during transit, so extra was prepared. And the disciples voluntarily donated some pills. It is not much, but it is a token of our regard. The young disciples behind her brought out small medicine bottles, spirit talismans, and even spirit stones they had saved themselves. The veterans of the demon-suppressing army looked at those items, and for a moment, no one spoke. These things were not worth much, yet they were heavier than any decree issued over the past 300 years. I took the list from the girl and nodded. You have worked hard. The girl's eyes lit up, as if she had received the greatest praise in the world. It wasn't hard. It is the demon-suppressing army that has worked hard. After she finished, her face flushed red and she lowered her head. Lu Xiao turned his face away and said gruffly, Damn it, the wind is so strong it's making my eyes sting. Zhou Xuanzi smiled and did not expose him. Winter, the first year of the Dinyuan era. The 100th demonic tide of the myriad demon abyss had arrived. This time, it was more violent than any that had come before. The 9 levels of the demon caves shuddered simultaneously as black mist surged into the clouds. The heads of 36 demon gods I had once slain let out uneasy, low growls. At the bottom of the abyss, something even more ancient had awakened. The alarm bells of the demon-suppressing pass resounded through heaven and earth. 3 million soldiers of the demon-suppressing army donned their armor once more. The difference was that this time, the area behind the demon-suppressing pass was no longer empty. The medicinal pills of the Tian Alliance had arrived. The formation flags had arrived. The spirit stones had arrived. The reinforcements had arrived as well. Shun Fuyao personally led the disciples of the transmission hall onto the city walls. Lu Xiao looked at those young disciples and frowned. If you're afraid, there is still time to retreat. No one moved. Lin Qinghe gripped her sword, her face pale, yet she stiffened her neck and said, We didn't come here just to watch. Lu Xiao glanced at her and suddenly grinned. Fine, you got some backbone. I stood atop the city wall, looking toward the myriad demon abyss. Within the black mist, a colossal eye slowly opened. That aura surpassed the Tao integration stage. It was a true ancient demon emperor. 300 years ago, if I had encountered it, I could only have waited for death. Now I drew my blade. Behind me, the demon-suppressing army stood in formation. Beyond them were the reinforcements of the Tian Alliance, the endless stream of supplies, and a mortal world that had finally ceased to forget the abyss. The voice of the ancient demon emperor rose from the depths of the abyss, shaking the world until it cracked. Ye Shanshu, you have stood guard for 300 years. Do you mean to continue? I looked at him. Suddenly, I recalled how 300 years ago, upon first arriving at the demon-suppressing pass, I had asked myself that very same question. How long must I guard? Until when? No one answered me then. Now I have my answer. I raised my blade. Its edge reflected the black snow and the countless young, resolute faces upon the battlements. As long as the abyss remains, I shall guard. The ancient demon emperor roared with laughter as the demonic tide surged to the heavens. Behind me, the 3 million soldiers of the demon-suppressing army raised their weapons as one. Shun Fuyao's formation flared to life. Zhou Xuanzi's abyss-suppressing grand array pierced through the 9 layers of demonic veins. With a thunderous roar, Lu Xiao was the first to leap from the city wall. Demon-suppressing army. Slay! That single cry shattered the black snow, drowned out the demonic tide, and carried across 10,000 miles of mountains and rivers. I stepped forward, swinging my blade in the first strike against the ancient demon emperor. Between heaven and earth, the line between black and white was absolute. The abyss remained. But this time, before the abyss, there was no longer just a lone army. And I finally understood. To be the demon-suppressing king is not about the seat I occupy. It is because I stand here. Behind me lies the world of mortals. Before me lies the abyss. A single blade, never to retreat. That is all.